NOAA's National Marine Sanctuaries provide secure habitats and support a diversity of marine species. There are a few things you can do to help keep wildlife safe and healthy. Hang back and enjoy the view. Wildlife need plenty of space to be wild. If you see an animal showing signs of stress, defense, or flight, or if you're close enough for a selfie, then you're too close. Hanging back will allow you to witness some amazing natural animal behaviors. Keep your hands to yourself. Touching or attempting to handle wildlife can disturb or injure them, and for some animals, like marine mammals, it's illegal. It could also be dangerous and harmful for you. So please be respectful and stay safe by keeping your hands to yourself. Report wildlife that seems abandoned or sick. If you are concerned that an animal is abandoned, injured, or sick, please do not approach the animal. Instead, call your local wildlife hotline. Letting a trained professional handle the situation ensures safety for both you and the animal. Keep pets at home or on a leash. Many parks and recreation areas restrict pet access, so please check local guidelines before you go. If pets are allowed, always keep them on a leash and far away from wildlife. Keep snacks to yourself. While it may be tempting to use food to attract wildlife, it's not healthy or safe. Wildlife can find their own snacks just fine. In fact, their survival depends on it. Lend a hand with trash removal. Pollution, such as marine debris, is a growing threat to the health of wildlife and their habitats. Properly dispose of any trash by packing it out or using the appropriate trash or recycling bin. And while you're at it, please pick up any other trash you find to leave these areas cleaner than you found them. Lead by example. By practicing these simple guidelines, you set a positive example for other visitors to do their part in keeping wildlife and the habitats they depend on safe, healthy, and productive. We hope you enjoy your next visit to a national marine sanctuary and the many opportunities they provide to observe and be inspired by wildlife. We greatly appreciate your cooperation, support, and stewardship. Please show your commitment to wildlife by taking the pledge for Wild Sanctuaries.
Thank you. All right, so Nicole, oh, great. Wow, you guys are fast. All right, let me catch up, share my screen. Okay, so thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here, really curious on how you guys are receiving these wildlife viewing guidelines. So hopefully we'll have some time at the end to talk about them. Just want to say I'm speaking from the tribal lands of Piscataway Tribal Nation, just south of Washington, D.C., along the shores of Chesapeake Bay, Maryland. So yes, I am at the end of my day, and you guys, I know you're still going on. My name is Bottitta-Williamson, and I am the National Recreation and Tourism Coordinator of the Office of National Marine Sanctuaries. And as you heard a little bit earlier, but prior to my 6 years, I've been here about 6 years with sanctuaries. I worked in National Park Service. I worked for Fish and Wildlife Service, worked all over the country, a little bit of overseas tour, but I generally worked with shorebirds and waterfowl. I am definitely a bird watcher, and I actually had a chance just recently to go to Galapagos in August and do some really intense, exciting wildlife viewing there and learned a couple of lessons along the way. But most of my jobs were actually really public facing. Even though I did research, I still had that opportunity and connection with the public at large. And I will say I'm probably older than most of you on this call, and I didn't receive, at the time, we didn't really have formal training for outreach, communications, thinking about that. You were a straight biologist and that's what you learned, and you barely learned a computer. I will tell you that I wish along the way I had had some outreach and communications training, and I want to flag that for those on the call that are definitely earlier on in their careers. If you have not taken training, if you have not participated in a course or internship or some other rotational opportunity, I highly recommend some type of communications outreach training of sorts. I mean, it's been sprinkled throughout this entire conference how important messaging is. And without it, our job of resource protection, the protection of wildlife, is just, it's not going to get where it needs to go. So with further ado, respect, protect, and enjoy. So before I get into it, I want to introduce you folks to for NOAA's National Marine Sanctuary System. I know most of you are based in California, so hopefully you're familiar with our 4 sites along the California coast. But as a system as a whole, we're a network of underwater parks representing or encompassing more than 620,000 square miles of marine and Great Lake waters. So from the coast of California to Stellwagen Bank in the Gulf of Maine on the East Coast, from Florida Keys to Lake Huron to American Samoa. The network includes 15 national marine sanctuaries and two marine national monuments, Papahānaumokuākea and Rose Atoll. And we use, as a system, we use responsible recreation and sustainable tourism. It's not only a tool for public engagement, but also for a tool for resource protection. Okay, so folks who have seen me speak before, I generally refer to, I love this, Simon Sinek's TED Talk on the Golden Circle. And I know he's not the only one has done this, but this is great. It really talks about why we do the work that we do. So if you look at the middle, that's our why, the big why, the purpose of our mission. The how is the process, and the what is your tool. Too many screens open. Okay, so I just want to bring it back. So again, the why is resource protection, and in this case, wildlife conservation, protection, etc. The how is education and engagement, and the what is the tool. So in this case, oops, there you go. And the wildlife viewing guidelines. And I think that we can all agree that communication styles, they ebb, they flow, they evolve. And with the current emphasis, and will be for some long time, in a virtual world, attention spans keep decreasing. And we learn that not only do words matter, but this highly digital place that we're in right now, and will continue to be, graphical representation matters and is equally as important. And so many of you may know this sign. It's from the 1980s. I'm dating myself several times, but that's okay. 1980s Ghostbuster, where the big slash signs were like the in thing. You saw them in all public places. So here you go. These were our old wildlife viewing guidelines. And while the content was factual, we, NOAA, recognize that this kind of communication methods with all the slashes, don't do this, don't do that, keep your distance, it wasn't effective, it wasn't relevant, nor impactful in current terms, and it definitely not engaging with most audiences. Most people are going to click on that website and click right out of it, and that's all they did. And so to reach our goal of wildlife protection, again, the why, through change human behaviors, we need sustained public engagement. So people need to stay on this website or this information for more than just a second. They need to actually read it, embrace some of it. And that public engagement will help us create the opportunity to promote and model positive human behaviors and decrease human-wildlife interaction. So I think I mentioned I'm going to go this on a quick clip, and you'll see why. There's a lot of content to cover. So in order to create this cool content that I'm going to introduce you to, we coordinate with several individuals, organizations across federal agencies and state agencies to include the Brooke Tully individual, fantastic individual, Rare Foundation, and of course the folks right here at the Respect Wildlife Campaign, the Wild Foundation, as well as the Recreate Responsibly Coalition, which is about 1,600 organizations and businesses. And I've mentioned like Park Service, Fish and Wildlife Service, even some state parks as well. So a little bit about the guidelines as themselves, because you'll see there's no numbers here, right? It's just straight messaging, positive as much as possible, straight icons. We purposely did not use the measured distances. While they are important, most, like for me, I don't know I can't tell you 6 feet on the water. And in most cases, you know, between regions and types of either marine mammals or birds, or the type of, you know, the time of year, if they're nesting or if they are swimming or breaching, or whatever. There's just so much information out there. So we went the higher level, more engaging community of practice type conversations. At any point in time, though, within our website, and I will show you, we definitely shared information on where people can get the more specific details that are critically important, just not engaging to loop people into the bigger picture. The public audience that we focused on for these guidelines for this current iteration are really focused on the shoreline, so walking along the shoreline and on top of the water. We plan to address activities like underwater diving, snorkeling, etc., and tide pooling in the future. But again, this is our first time. We released these in April. So we kept the messaging, as you can see, very simple, but it's direct and it is appropriate for really anywhere, including land scenarios. Again, so that community of practice we're trying to create along wildlife viewing. We focused on promotion of modeling behaviors. So you'll see, as I demonstrate, as I show you through the website, we try to reflect only behaviors and photographs, graphics, etc., that were positive in approach. So again, respecting wildlife, keeping a distance, but still, it's really important to talk about that impactful and memorable visitor experience. So I mentioned about the slash lines earlier on. You'll see that our colors, while we have these best practices within NOAA, I am in the federal agency, we did have one slash line, and I don't know if you can see my icon, but that's right here for the hands to yourself. It's smaller, it's not red, so it's not really in your face, but it's there and it's really important. And the reason we chose to use it with this one is because it is that critically important, to stress that. The other thing we decided to do was this give wildlife space. So the biggest spot, the biggest area on the whole entire graphic is give wildlife space. We consider that our priority message. So if people are backing up, they're not going to feed. If they're backing up, they're going to keep their hands to themselves. If they're backing up, their dogs, hopefully on a leash, will not get in the way. So again, that's why we created that as it is. We thoughtfully created and selected graphics, text, photos that reflected the diversity of the public. And as you'll see, I'll be able to share, we were able to translate some pages into Spanish. We are still at that point where we're creating a lot more content in Spanish and then other languages as well. So I'm going to dive right into it and show you the website and show you our guidelines. So again, I work for the federal government, so everything that you'll see here is available for public use. We don't have trademarks, etc. But I would be curious if you use it, that you do connect with me. I'd love to hear how you're using it and how it goes. So if you remember back, right, the little slash lines, that was our landing page, and now we've moved to more graphical representation, more photographs, so that each one of those guidelines you saw on the previous screen, they're here. Keep your hands to yourself, hang back and enjoy the view. Here's your primary message, and here's your secondary message, equally as important. If you click on it, you get even more information. And again, we're looking at, if you go back to the original, even if folks land on this page, they're going to get important information to take home and absorb and use while they're outside. So again, so a little bit more, whoops, you got to hit the right way. There you go. Okay, so then it takes you to even more information. So each one of those guidelines you're able to do that, providing pictures, additional information. In some cases, very rarely, especially when it's for stressing behaviors, we showed a positive and then of course a negative as far as the flapping. Every page has additional resources, and then you're able to go through and navigate really easily using the regular bars, but also here, each one of the icons on the bottom will also take you to another page. So we try to make this engaging, user-friendly, but again, knowing that some people might not get past that first page, and that's okay. So I just show you here. I'm going to take you home for a bit. Right at the top here is our Spanish language, and it's really light. We'll be doing more at some point soon. This is it. This is the depth of it, including the pledge page that I'll show you folks in a little bit. Go back to English. Okay. I'm going to try to go slow, not to get anybody with vertigo. Okay. And so I encourage you each to go through these on your own. I will send out links. Actually, I think the links are with the agenda, but not done yet. There's even more. So at the bottom, because we kind of ran out of time for producing more pages, there are some really cool information on frequently asked questions. So whether it's about finding sick, injured, stranded, how do you know that an animal's sick? How do I know if you're giving animals enough space? This is a good section here where we definitely want to produce more content in the future. More photographs on what to look for. How do you know that you're getting too close? So again, regulations are important, and numbers and distances are definitely important, but there are some behaviors you should be able to identify. Thank you, Francesca. Appreciate it. So I'll take you two more places. One is taking the pledge. So wanting to encourage, others to really go through the guidelines and share along the way. Each one of these will go back to the original content. I'm going to show you here because it's a bit finicky, but you can put your email in there. That would be the best way to do this. What that email will do is, one, help us keep track of how many people are downloading the guidelines and subscribing. What you're subscribing to will be a newsletter. We haven't created the content yet. We're waiting for the numbers to go a little bit higher. As I mentioned, we pushed this out, released it in May, but we haven't pushed really hard. Our 50th anniversary campaign is this year. We're going to push it really hard in the next coming year or so. But this is helping us get ready for a newsletter that will just be focused on wildlife, whether it's wildlife content, as far as just like what species are out there, when you can see them, and of course, bringing in the disturbance information as well. So I'm just going to show you real quick. Oops, not there. Yeah, that wants to do that. Sorry. Showing the backwards way. So once you submit, you should also be receiving your pledge badge to download, as well as another way of getting your pocket graphics guidelines. And then again, just trying to encourage social media use to encourage others. So I'm going to take out that. And then, again, I know I'm going through this really fast, but hopefully you'll explore it. And here's our responsible viewing wildlife kit. So we created a page with all of the content that we've created. Again, it is public friendly, download at will, use it how you want to use it, use different photographs. Here's the video we showed in the beginning. We also created a social media toolkit with sample posts, graphics, photographs, etc. in English, generally in English. Actually, I think it's all in English. I'm saying that. For Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. These are samples. That's all these are. They have links back to our website. And so I definitely encourage that. And then I'm going to just show you some of the other content we've provided on here. Go a little bit slower for it to catch up. So all of the graphics I've talked about, including some additions for social media. So each one of the guidelines, we created in both English and Spanish. And let's see, the pledge badge is also, oh, whoa, that got big. English and Spanish, there we go, in Spanish. And then we included some memes as well. It's taking forever to load. Okay. London, oops, that's not a meme. It's taking forever to load. Okay. We'll just do one meme. So there are memes. There's also some Instagram stories available as well, but it's all available. Please use it. Again, really curious how it's resonating with your audiences. The other thing I would say too, because I'm part of a federal agency, there has been recent movement on creating a community of practice for wildlife viewing guidelines. So again, whether it's on land or that's water, and also the Recreate Responsibly Coalition. If you have not or not involved with them or not familiar with their guidance for just recreating outside, please take a look. We're working with them as well to incorporate some of our wildlife viewing guidelines, again, having a general community of practice. So it might not be the exact same words or the exact same pictures, but it should sound fairly similar. So I'm going to go back, just again, quick introduction for that. And I've got just a couple more slides. So besides the website and talking to others and being here and presenting our guidelines and just receiving information and listening and hearing how it's resonating with different audiences, we've created the two photos on the left are our postcards. They're actually in print for when someday we go back in the office in our visitor centers. We have them in English and Spanish. So one side are the guidelines, the other side is the graphic, just a graphic with a QR code so that people can download them on their phone. We'll have them in some of our new exhibits in some of our visitor centers and our partner exhibits and aquariums, etc. We've also just produced our annual magazine, which is called Earth is Blue, and it's our annual magazine for the National Marine Sanctuaries. And then so we're incorporating this messaging not just for operators and just the public that is interested in wildlife, but really trying to introduce this to the public at large and our general audiences. So I know that went pretty fast. Well, I'm a little bit over time, and I apologize. This is my next slide. I'm going to say thank you, and then if I'm going to stop sharing, right? Because I need Nicole. Nicole, do we still have time for the video?
I think so. Sure do.
All right.
Okay.
So I'm going to wrap it up with that. Thank you so much. Really appreciate. Can't wait till next year. Maybe I'll actually get to go if we're in person next year. But all right, Nicole. Going to end with a nice, quick video.
Remember when you're out visiting your national marine sanctuaries to take care of the ocean and its inhabitants and adhere to responsible recreation practices. You can also take the Wildlife Pledge on the Sanctuaries website at sanctuaries.noaa.gov/wildlife viewing pledge.
Hey, wait a minute. Why don't we do the pledge together right now?
That's a great idea, actually.
Awesome. And I want you to raise your right hand and repeat after me. As a responsible wildlife watcher, I pledge to...
As a responsible wildlife watcher, I pledge to...
Hang back and enjoy the view.
Hang back and enjoy the view.
Keep my hands to myself.
Keep my hands to myself.
Report wildlife that seems sick or abandoned.
Report wildlife that seems sick or abandoned.
Keep my pets home or on a leash.
Keep my pets home or on a leash.
Lend a hand with trash removal.
Lend a hand with trash removal.
Keep my snacks to myself.
Keep my snacks to myself.
Lead by example.
Lead by example.
Awesome! You are now a responsible wildlife watcher.
Thanks, Nicole. All right, folks, that was just for awareness. That was one of our National Marine Sanctuaries for our annual Get in Your Sanctuary event, and they created it on their own. I just thought it was really cool. And little things we have to work through, like the graphics over the face. But other than that, it was just a really cool idea I wanted to share. So thank you. And I'm putting my contact information in the chat.
Thank you so much, Grace. I know I have a question, but Cara, do you see any others in the chat?
I don't. Just appreciation and yeah, links. There's a comment from Marina for you, Grace.
Okay.
Yeah. But besides that, that's all I see. Go ahead.
So my question, so Grace, I'm kind of obsessed with tracking effectiveness, and it's so difficult to do. And so, I look back at the old messaging with the slash, and you mentioned how, we've been questioning for a while, like how effective that is. I'm wondering how you're tracking that. Are you looking at like bounce rates on the website, how long people are staying to view the content, and just some information about how you're keeping track of how well this messaging is doing?
Those are all really good questions. Unfortunately, well, there's a couple of things. So you'll notice, or maybe you haven't already, but in our social media messaging, I'm using trackable links. So even the information I provided you on the website, Jenna, on the Respect Wildlife campaign, it was a trackable link. So it's not a perfect thing, but I can use that for .gov, any website that ends in .gov. So I've been trying to do that. And honestly, that's why we created the pledge. One, it was a good idea, and we want to get people encouraged, but it's an opportunity. That's how I know how many people have actually done the pledge. We have just recently been able to do some more analytics with our Google site. So I'm sorry, not our Google site, our Fed site. I wish it was a Google site. So hopefully we'll be able to have like all those products I listed. How many people have downloaded the graphic? How many people have watched the video? How many? So we're still struggling, and I'm hoping that I'm starting to work a little bit closer now with our next speaker. I'm not gonna give her away, but I'm hoping that throughout NOAA we'll be able to figure that out. And again, across the interagencies and then Respect Wildlife Coalition. So it's all really new conversations, but I agree. Like we think it's the right thing, but yeah, how impactful is it?
Yeah, and ultimately the metric is our wildlife being less frequently disturbed, and that's a pretty diverse group of different studies, and not all of them are being studied, and so it's pretty tricky to get at the effectiveness of any of these campaigns. And it's not a critique at all on my part. It's just commiseration.
Yes, I agree. Hey, and I forgot, I have one thing, because I know Lisa's out there and I owe her this. So the Monterey Bay National Marine Sanctuary has in the middle of releasing their new whale watching guidelines, and that will actually have a little bit of this messaging and then distances as well. I know it's been printed, it's been created, but it's not up on our website yet. So I'm sure Lisa will share it as soon as we are able to on our website.
That's exciting. So yeah, Karen Grimmer, who I think is on our attendee list today, is shared about that a few years ago in our symposium. Yeah. So it'll be great to see what the
final product
work is. A lot of hard work.